here today. A couple years ago, I saw a video by Steve Camp. He runs a website called Nerd Fitness, and the video was called Live Your Life in Beta. And it was about this idea that we're all a work in progress, not the finished product, much like beta in development, and that we can improve our lives if we think of ourselves in this way. My mic's not on, sorry guys. Finding it on switch. How's that? That's better, sorry. Okay, so this idea of living life in beta really resonated with me. And today I wanted to share my experience of living life in beta and a few things that I think we can take from software development and apply to our lives. So if anyone's not familiar with the term beta, it's where you've got a product that's close to finished, but we need to get it out in the real world, into the hands of real users in real situations, so we can pick up the bugs, work out the kinks, and get feedback from real users. Now, beta versions are buggy, but that's okay because they're not the finished product. We're just testing, learning, getting insights that's going to make the final product better in the future. So the software release stages used to be taken really seriously. And fair enough, when you've got software being shipped on a physical disk to a physical store where it'll sit on the shelves, people are going to pay a lot of money outright to purchase it, it needs to be perfect the first go. But these days, with software as a service becoming the norm, and we can push updates pretty much instantly, we can be a little more relaxed. Gmail, for example, was in beta for 5 years while public to millions of users. Flickr, the photo sharing site, was in public beta for over 2 years. Firefox and Chrome both have beta versions that every night they ship new experimental features along with new experimental bugs. So users can play, test, break. And because we've learnt that getting your product into the hands of users early produces a better product down the line. So there's 3 key lessons I think that we can take from modern software development. And the first is, done is better than perfect. So this is a phrase that some companies have up on their walls. And it doesn't mean ship something subpar. It just means that it's better to learn from small iterations than to try to get everything perfect all at once at the first go. The founder of LinkedIn said, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. And I think this talks to an issue that some of us have probably experienced in our lives. Sometimes we get so fixated on doing something perfect, we don't even end up doing it at all. And I've been guilty of this. I've wanted a personal site for a really long time. I've started creating a personal site many times. But then I can never get the design right, and I don't have enough content already good enough to publish. And writing an about page is surprisingly hard. So there's always something holding me back. But this year I said, just launch something. It's better to have a blog that's rough around the edges than no blog at all, right? So I took a leaf out of the Agile handbook and focused on creating my minimum viable product. It needed to have a homepage, and it needed to have 1 blog post. Didn't have to have fancy animations or social sharing buttons, didn't need an award-winning design, just needed those 2 things, and it had to be live. And once I launched with those 2 pages, it was so much easier to keep the momentum going. I got feedback from people, designer friends, I could make tweaks as I went, I added new pages and features as I had the capacity to do so, and because they only felt like small things to do instead of part of this giant big project. But what was holding me back from doing something as simple as launching a blog? I think it was fear of not being good enough, of being judged by something that wasn't perfect, and failing. But we have to put our products and ourselves out there to be able to learn and benefit. You can't make money from products that you haven't launched, and you can't learn from experiences that you haven't had. Imagine if the inventor of the light bulb or the internet was too afraid to put themselves out there to fail. What would the world be like without these people? When we think of ourselves in beta, we don't have to be afraid of failing or not being good enough, because we're not the finished product. We're just putting ourselves out there for real world testing. And just because we launched doesn't mean that we stop iterating. Which brings me to the next thing that I think we can learn from software development. And that's release early, release often. Years ago, before Agile and newer methodologies, software development was really slow. You could spend 2 years scoping and designing a solution, another 2 years building it, and by the time you have your product in front of real users, you might have built the wrong thing. Maybe they don't like what you've built. Maybe it doesn't solve the problem you set out to solve. Or maybe in that time the market has changed and someone else has already got a better product out there that does the same thing. Which is why modern software development aims to put something basic out and then get small changes out often. So this provides a really tight feedback loop between the product team and the people actually using your product. We can build a thing, see what people think of it, and then assess if we should keep building it or not. And I think this is also a good philosophy. A couple of years ago, I was one of those people that couldn't speak in a meeting because I was scared. Today, I'm giving my second conference talk. How did that happen? So I got a new job where stand-ups were a thing, so you have to talk in front of a group. I became an organizer of a meetup, so I had to talk to people I didn't know already. I started emceeing our presentation nights, so welcoming the audience and introducing the speakers. And the first time I did that, I was actually a nervous wreck. My hands were shaking my paper, but each time I got less nervous, better at remembering what I was supposed to say, telling people where the toilets were, that's an important one. And then a few months ago I thought, I might get in on this speaking thing that all my speaker friends are doing. So I workshopped some ideas so that I could submit to events. And then last week I gave a conference talk in front of over 200 people, which was a huge challenge for me considering that I still get nervous emceeing meetups. And would it have been easier if I'd spoken at a meetup first? Yep, absolutely. Would it have made more sense to speak at a meetup first? Yeah. But the opportunity came up, and on advice from a good friend, I accepted that opportunity. Because life can be messy. Sometimes speed to market is more important than making sure you have every feature that you want. Sometimes it's about accepting opportunities as they come, and then reflecting on what you've learned. Because the second part of releasing regularly is reflecting on those releases. We learn more from reflecting on the experience than actually the experience itself. So I did feel like I missed a step, jumping from meetup MC to speaking on a conference stage, but I don't regret it because it made for bigger, more impactful learnings and things that I could take away and improve on for this talk. So it doesn't really matter if you're taking baby steps or giant leaps, as long as you're making incremental progress. In beta, we recognize that releasing early and often allow us to try a thing and see if we like it. We can check in with ourselves regularly to make sure we're enjoying the thing. So we're not investing a lot of time, effort, or money before realizing we actually didn't want that thing to start with. Which brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about today, which is in beta, we're not afraid to pivot. There can come a time in software development or life where you realize you're not quite on the right path. Maybe you hate your job. Maybe you're in the wrong relationship. Maybe you want to travel through Asia and the closest you've gotten is Chinatown. What can you do? A lot of well-known tech companies are now something completely different to what they started as. So YouTube began as a dating site with the tagline, "Tune in, hook up." Unfortunately, women weren't so keen on uploading dating video profiles of themselves, so that idea never gained traction. But when the company pivoted and opened up the platform to any video on any topic, completely turned around, and YouTube is obviously a success today. 3 years ago, I was a public servant, and for the 10 years before that, my job was to proofread legal land documents and enter that information into a database. So I started as a trainee, and I worked my way up to a senior. Now call me a slow learner, but around year 8 or 9, it became pretty clear I didn't want to do this anymore. It was really boring. But I had been doing it for so long, and it was really domain-specific knowledge that you couldn't transfer to another job. So I felt kind of stuck there. And there was a few other things going on around the same time. The first is that I started learning web development on weekends, at nights, just from free online resources. And I was really, really enjoying it. I could definitely see myself doing that as a job. The other thing that was happening is the place I was working for was starting on a transformation journey. In this situation, transformation is code for how do we replace people with computers. So there was software being developed with the aim of getting rid of all of us and automating the whole process. Obviously, it would be the juniors to go first. I probably had 10 or 15 years before it would be good enough to handle the complexities of my role. And because the organisation was in cost-cutting mode and they wanted to get rid of us, they started offering voluntary redundancies. And so I had this amazing, unique opportunity to put my hand up and get paid to leave, which would give me a buffer in changing career paths. Now this seems like a no-brainer now, but at the time, I was terrified by this decision. Imagine giving up the only career you've ever had to take a chance on something you learnt how to do on the internet. What if I couldn't get a job as a self-taught web developer? What if we ran out of money and we couldn't pay the mortgage? These are the things I was worried about. But on the other hand, what if I stayed where I was and spent the next 10 or 15 years in a job I didn't like, in a career that didn't make sense for me anymore? That's pretty scary too. So I decided to pivot and change paths. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, and it's led to really amazing experiences, none of which would have been possible if I hadn't pivoted. Now, not everyone has an opportunity like I did, but maybe there's an area of your life that you'd like to pivot on. Could be something big like moving countries. Could be something smaller, like applying to become a manager and put down the tools. The beta mindset tells us that it's never too late to pivot. Your current path is not set in stone. So the adoption of this mindset has been really good for me. It's forced me to be braver than I otherwise would be, and take more chances than I otherwise would. It's kept me focused on small wins instead of getting overwhelmed by big goals. But it's also challenging. We live in a society still that tells you, go to uni, get a stable job, settle down, do that till you die. To play it safe, stay in your lane. Living your life in beta invites you to reject the status quo, to focus on progress, not perfection, to see failures as opportunities, to reflect on where you're going and where you're at, and that it's never too late to change direction. So thanks for listening.